Train stuck on the back track and the battery runs dead. You need some way to get it home.
All right. Yeah, you would have thought Bill and I scripted this, because this is a perfect segue here into this next thing. Okay, this is a common concern. All right, the battery's going to go. You know, I'm going to get stuck out there, and the last thing I want to do is pick it up and bring it back. All right. Well, that's why we have battery cars. And this is a 9-amp battery car, and in theory, it could run 9 hours. All right. So what a lot of us do is we'll put bigger batteries that you can't physically fit inside the Loco into the battery car, and we run on the battery car for most of the day. When that goes, we can always get the Loco home, because we still got another 2 hours left just on the Loco batteries. So this is what, through experience, this is the way we figured out the best way to do it. The batteries, I'm going to get into batteries shortly, the batteries in that battery car could be anything you have around the house. All right, there's really no restrictions on the batteries. All right, and in fact, that brings us into the next issue, batteries. That was a good question. Does that sort of give you a little better feeling about not getting stuck out there?
You just plug in the battery car with no switching of any switches or anything?
And
Things like that?
You can. What all of us have learned to do is you can get at Radio Shack. By the way, other than the radio control gear, all these other little bits and pieces that we have, you can source at Radio Shack. All right. So what I'm going to talk about right now is there's a charging jack that's on this Loco. Now this happens to be the wiring setup that I use, but this charging jack doubles as a auxiliary battery jack and a charging jack. So when the power is on, I can come in and plug in a battery car. All right. So I don't have to remove the batteries from inside the engine. When it's time to charge, I just then take my charger, oh, I didn't bring any, and just plug it in, and I can just charge it up that way. So it depending on the wiring that you choose, it could be as simple as that. All right. You'll see a lot on the installations we do, we put the charging jack on the back of the engine so you can use a battery car. But a lot of folks don't want to see it there. They don't want to put a hole in their engine, which is understandable, and then they'll hide it somewhere else. But then it's harder to get that cable to go over for a backup battery. There we go. Well, that was a good round. All right. Bob?
Someone had asked about if you could run a battery controlled on the same track as a track control train, and the answer is obviously yes, running many more on that track. But also there's an advantage if you're running live steam. Some of the live steam engines do not have the axles insulated. They would short the track out. But you can run these with live steam on the same track.
No, that's good. That's a good point. As you'll find, and if you get associated with clubs, you're also going to get introduced to live steam. And they call us Sparkies, right? Because we're on the electricity, and they just get dirty. They love all that stuff. But what Bob was saying is sometimes, even though you're going to have track power on your layout, if somebody comes with a steam engine, and if it's not insulated wheels, it would short the track power out. That would never happen with a battery powered engine. So that's never going to be a concern for you. All right. Okay. Choosing the right batteries, run times, the weight of the battery, and the size of the battery. All right. The good news is that right now we have such a variety of batteries to choose from that you can put a battery system now into any engine. We don't have that size limitation that we had 10 years ago or 6 years ago. 6 years ago, most of the batteries were bigger than this. They were called gel cells. They were extremely heavy. They're inexpensive, but it was like, how am I going to fit that inside the engine? So then I put it in a car, and the car would bow. So luckily those days are past. We don't have to worry about that. So you'll hear things like gel cell technology, and Walmart sells them for $10, $12, these batteries. You'll hear the words NiCad batteries. NiCad was that old rechargeable battery we had for all our flashlights and stereo products years ago. All right, the newer technology that most of us have gone to is what's called nickel metal hydride batteries, all right, and lithium ion batteries. And this represents that technology. All right. The lithium, all right, Aristocraft is put together a really nice little package. This battery, and I'm sorry I didn't bring the gel cells because it makes for a great comparison, but imagine a brick, the size of a brick, all right? And that brick, and the two of them, this equals one of those bricks, okay? So nowadays, with this kind of a battery, this from Aristocraft, it saves you having to use 3 separate old gel cells or these bricks that we used to call. So, and they're very affordable, so this is really nice. Now this is a lithium ion technology. And right now, Aristocraft is the only one of the vendors who sells batteries, train vendors. And they've done it very wisely because it's in a very convenient package, all right? And just a word of caution, all right, there's a circuit board inside this pack, all right? And you don't touch this, you know, unless you're an expert on this stuff, because what this does is it makes sure that it gets charged properly. We hear all kinds of stories about batteries blowing up and things like that, and the last thing we want to do is see an engine going in different directions on a railroad or melting, all right? So with these batteries, they've already taken into consideration what you have to do to charge them. There's a circuit board in there, and then they have a charger that you have to get to go with this battery pack. It makes it simpler that way. It's a nice plug and play feature. So lithium requires a little more thought in the charger. There's a relationship between the charger and the battery pack. Now the nickel metal hydride, all right, they're a little more forgiving. And we can use over-the-counter chargers for nickel metal hydride. All of us have access to some charger from somewhere, whether you get it through your dealer who sets you up, whether you buy it through batteryspace.com, they're one of the bigger websites.
I made an adapter for my DeWalt charger, and I use that. And I just hook it up to my battery pack.
Okay, good. So that's what's in your car, right? Is that what? Okay. What Brian has done. Remember, I said earlier you can use any battery that you have around the house, and of course I'm talking rechargeable batteries here, but the drill battery. All right. You can usually buy them for $30, $40, $50 somewhere, and that can be rigged up to be used as part of your battery, and then you just take it and slide it back into the charger for that drill battery. So that works out really, really well.